All right. This week we dropped an episode on Monday with our guest Danny, who had a traumatic brain injury. She had a post-concussion syndrome and, bad accident led to PTSD. Really lovely guest, really lovely conversation. But we got a really nice letter, a kind letter from a listener that had a comment to make based on that episode. This is from Kathleen. She says, "Hello, guys. I just listened to the Tinder date episode and felt compelled to write. So many things that were discussed resonate with me as I'm currently still dealing with the effects of a not so serious concussion, in quotes, 11 months after the fact. My concussion resulted from fainting and hitting my head. Ouch. I suffer from something called vasovagal syncope, which just means I faint. I experience certain if I experience certain triggers, sight of blood, extreme stress, etc.
Good thing this isn't one of my friends because I'd be doing CPR lots.
Oh man, you would have broke every rib in Kathleen's body if you were with her this night. Prior to the concussion, I was a healthy, active individual working as a college professor. After a particularly stressful mid-January 2021, I woke up in the middle of the night to use the bathroom and never quite made it back to my bed. I fainted, falling backwards and hitting my head on the tile floor. Oh, I had no idea how long I was out, but when I came to, I crawled to my bed and fell back asleep. In the morning, I called telehealth to see if I should go into the ER, what with the pandemic and all. And they advised that I go. After a quick neuro exam, the ER doc told me that a CT scan was not necessary. Not likely a brain bleed because I had not thrown up and was not sensitive to light, that I should take 2 days off work and stay off screens. I went back to work 4 days later, which consisted of fully online teaching in a college environment because of the pandemic. So that's 8 to 10 hours on screen every day. And no, I'm not Louise. I suffered through, that's a nice little callback joke there, Kathleen. I suffered through it for 2 weeks and was in such a state daily, nausea, headaches, dizziness, that I finally called my GP to get her take. She freaked out that the ER doctor had not given me the quote step back concussion protocol and immediately ordered me off work and away from all screens for 2 weeks before reassessing. She advised that the longer I suffered symptoms, the more likely it would be that they might become permanent. Anything that required cognitive load was considered an activity, and I was not allowed to do more than one activity a day until I had conquered it without triggering concussion symptoms. So walking was one activity. Walking and talking or listening to music or a podcast equals 2 activities.
Whoa.
Other typical activities of daily living that were now considered activities: driving, reading, cooking, exercising. So try to imagine
life.
That's why,
like anything.
Have you guys? Did we talk about that on the podcast where we were about if you're gonna watch a show or a movie after you've had a concussion, that it should be a rerun or something that you've seen already?
That's right.
So you don't have to.
In Sherry's
your brain
episode,
doesn't have to think so much.
Yes, that's right. Try to imagine no screens at the height of the pandemic while in lockdown. I live in Ontario, which was in lockdown for months on end during that time.
Man.
I embarked on physiotherapy and mindfulness practice and went stir crazy trying to fill my days. I have 2 settings, on and off, so sitting and laying around was not good for me. I did not return to work until the end of March, part-time, and could not return to teaching yet. I had to purchase an expensive pair of blue blocker glasses made it through April to June, full-time, managing a wide range of administrative things, and then was off for the summer, a great rest period for my brain. In the fall, we were still primarily online for all teaching, but I had been feeling great and doing well. After 4 weeks of being back online all day, every day, symptoms came back. I tried to suck it up, but by the 6-week mark, I had concussion symptoms all day, every day, for a solid week. So back to the GP I went and back off work. This was an incredible blow to my mental health and well-being. I loved my job and was crushed to abandon my students midterm. Oh man, that's so hard. Mm-hmm. I'm still off and hoping to return in January when we are supposed to be back to classroom for all teaching, bearing any more shutdowns.
Psych, Omicron.
Yeah, look out. I saw a neurologist at the beginning of December and have undergone an MRI. As I wait for results and think about what comes next, I can't believe what a ripple effect that night had on my entire life.
Yeah.
With all of the attention that concussions have had, I cannot believe that doctors, especially ER docs, aren't better educated on advising patients. I often wondered what might have happened if I had contacted my GP sooner and had not gone back to work for 2 weeks following the concussion. I feel for your guest and wish her all the best as she continues her recovery. Keep doing what you're doing. It's so important. Kathleen, OG listener. P.S. Congratulations on the Movember campaign results. Thank you. P.P.S. Congrats on the baby news, Taylor.
You're welcome.
Yeah, that's brutal, man. Like, you know, and also just like such a bummer that that you went to the ER and like the ball was clearly just totally dropped, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I think this isn't like a defense of not properly advising somebody on what to do, but I think probably where the shortfall is probably ER docs. I'm making a pretty big assumption here, but that ER docs are really thinking about like your immediate, like acute, like what you should do, like right now, like right now.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's not the case at all, and maybe this is a total fault of the ER doc, and you know, most ER docs would say that's crazy that they didn't.
But
advise
even then, like if that is what their job is, right? Which I'm assuming that's a pretty good assumption that that's like where their head is at. Even to have the wherewithal to say, however,
follow up with your GP.
You might want to go see a GP. You know.
Yeah.
Because they might have something else to say.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Man, all from hitting your, like, dude, hitting your head. There just is no, what am I trying to liken it to? Like, there's no, like definitive scale for it. It's like, it's something like a small hit of the head can have this drastic impact. And then fuck, dude, when I think about some of the times that I got hit playing hockey or hit people at like warp speed, and never had issues. Like, how does that happen? You know, Sherry walks into a fucking wall when she's looking at her phone. Yeah. And you know, how much worse have other people hit their head and not had?
Dude, I mean, every weekend, we were just saying this before the show, like we're in here pretty much every weekend at the studio watching UFC.
Yeah.
And like we see that shit all the fucking time on that.
I think I figured it out. I think
Perfect.
I think maybe the harder you hit your head, actually the more fine you'll be. Maybe there's just like a sweet spot, you know, where you just hit it at the perfect amount that's what just gives you the most debilitating concussion possible.
My sister, when she was
might be onto something there, bro.
When she was like 4 and like 5, when she would have temper tantrums. She was such a little fucking witch. When she would have temper tantrums, she wasn't getting her way. And what she would do, it doesn't matter if she's in a parking lot, doesn't matter if she's in the playroom, doesn't fucking matter on a set of stairs, doesn't matter. She would get to a limit, and then she would go, all right, not get my way, and she would go like push into her head, and then just hold her arms out and fall back onto her head.
No.
Yes. And one time she did it and landed, you know, those floor base heaters.
Yeah.
She landed on the
like
corner
the ones?
of one of those.
Yeah, those are rough.
And split her fucking head open.
Yeah. You know why she probably ended up developing that is because she probably did it once
and it worked.
And then she realized how much, and this is so crazy how children can realize this.
Euphoria.
How much No. How much?
Oh, that felt so good.
How much their parents don't want them to do that thing.
Yes.
So they go, if I threaten to do it, I'll get my way, because what I will do if they don't let me have my way,
fucking crazy.
They want that. They want to avoid that at all costs. Like me as a child hitting my head, not knowing that hitting your head is like, they're just going, I know they don't like it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
They're honestly kind of like they're kind of like wild animals.
They are.
Truly, train a kid.
Truly, yeah.
Hey, Brian, remember when? Dude, this is funny. I don't know if we've ever talked about this in the podcast. I think people are going to think
I
that
feel
we're
like
the,
we shouldn't.
people are going to think we're the dumbest fucking people in the world.
It'll be
They
validated.
already do, dude.
No, this is going to take it to another level, then.
This is gonna validate it.
And this is so weird that you developed into this rib cracking CPR monster.
Felt
Do you
bad
remember?
for all the.
Do you remember when we were in junior high and we used to, not even junior high, I think we were in fucking elementary school, or at least I was. And we used to push on each other's chests to make each other pass out.
Oh,
I
dude,
remember that. Yeah.
Did you do
everyone
that?
did that.
You did that
Yeah,
too?
yeah. That was like that. I think I honestly
phase?
that's a phase that I think every young teenage boy goes through. We didn't do the chest thing, but what we did was we would stand in front of our buddy, and then a buddy would take their hands and push on the sides of the neck to cut off any circulation to the head.
I think that
pass out.
I think that one might be better than the chest one.
Yeah, the chest one sounds.
Do you know how to do the chest one?
No.
So you bend over.
Listen up.
You-
Listen closely,
Listen
everybody.
up, kids.
We should maybe cut this out because we should not be putting instructional videos. But it basically,
Instructional videos on how to pass your friends out.
without giving the specific details, basically one person bends over and then hyperventilates, like breathes really heavy, and then they stand up against the wall, and then you just press on their chest, and they just go.
So you know what this is?
And then
this
they
is
just pass out.
kids experimenting with like psychedelics for the first time.
Yeah, kind of.
essentially.
Yeah.
You know,
Because I remember
Yeah.
because I would pass out, and then I'd wake up, and my mouth and my eyes would be wide open. I'd be like this, but I wouldn't be able to move yet. But I could start to see, and
Yeah.
just Brian and Dennis hanging over me. We probably did that. I don't know. I probably did that upwards of like 10 times.
you know
Yeah,
what I
me
would
too, yeah.
actually
How
like.
fucking dumb is
The
that?
worst part
It's
was
dumb.
that
it's the same thing as G locking, right?
Yeah.
Like so, so astronauts, going, or even fighter pilots, like when they are hitting super intense G forces, oftentimes they if they don't do the proper techniques, they'll pass out.
Mhm.
And so like they'll be put in a centrifuge to practice those techniques. And
Oh.
you can watch these videos. They're amazing. These videos of guys that go into G lock, which is like, I guess the term for when you've hit a certain amount of G force that you lose consciousness.
Mhm.
And one of the things that they say when you go through this process of G lock, when you pass out, to the moment when you awake, which is only literally when you watch these videos, it's a span of like, they're passed out for like 4 seconds. As they're coming to, you can see how disoriented they are. But apparently, what's happening?
Yeah, because they're also flying a fucking plane. They're like, whoa!
or they're in,
Or they're in the
like
simulator.
if they're in the simulator, like
Which also feels like they're flying. a
yeah, it
fucking
feels
plane.
like it. But they are having these like vivid, realistic dreams of something completely different. So
Right,
like
yeah.
they're in a
hallucination.
they're in a full on
trip.
hallucination, a trip. Yeah, yeah.
Man, that is great.
So
That
like
is so
essentially,
crazy.
it's kids just
The-
like
the-
fucking trying to simulate that.
The worst part though is when we would do this and the person's standing up
fucking
and you're
dumb.
pushing against their chest and they're against the wall. They're standing, but then when they faint,
They fall.
they go limp, and
Yeah, right.
you're then trying to hold a like 120-pound kid up when you're 120 pounds.
That's why I brought it up, is
And-
because of the letter of the person who wrote in saying, I fainted and I hit my head on the tile
Yeah.
floor. And I'm like, holy fuck, dude, we used to make each other pass out on purpose.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm pretty sure we hit our heads on top. There was one time, Taylor, where
Probably.
you were at the top of like the stairs
I
in my
remember
house,
that. That's what I'm thinking
and
of.
we made you faint at the top of the stairs, and I'm pretty sure
which is the dumbest.
I'm pretty sure you woke up at the bottom of the stairs because we were like, whoa, he slid jumping down the wall. Oh shit! And then like just slid you down.
By the way,
stairs.
everybody, we were like 12 years old.
And this is the
Just-
why we are the way that
I mean,
we
it
are
would,
today.
you had one of two choices. It was making each other pass out, or all gathering around in a circle, jerking off, and see who could come the quickest. Like those are the only two things that you had
Whoa.
to do.
We
It
did
wasn't.
that
It wasn't
too.
a choice. We just did both.
Yeah,
I only did the yeah.
different days of the week.
So speaking of astronauts, this is fascinating. So actually, you know what? So for folks who are kind of relatively new to the podcast, hey, welcome.
Hey,
so
welcome.
sorry. We actually had an episode back in the day where we had the the great fortune of meeting up with astronaut Colonel Chris Hadfield at his home office to have a conversation with him all about how space wreaks havoc on the human body. And actually, I pulled a clip from that conversation.
Is it the clip where I asked him if the moon landing was fake?
No. This is you can find this on YouTube.
As we all do.
The effects of space on the body.
Yeah.
And it showed this little graph basically explaining how like the top half of an astronaut's body in space almost like bloats a tiny bit.
Well, yeah, if we draw blood regularly. I don't know if you ever looked at the big veins in your arm, but they've got like little one-way valves in them. And the purpose of a lot of those is to keep the blood from going the other direction. Or once the blood gets far enough along in your body, it's got like these little check valves that keep it going. And if you think about it in your legs, how does your heart, which is way up here in your chest, squeeze the blood all the way up from your feet to your head? It's like some gigantic balloon.
Right.
And so you've got all these little systems that are, their whole purpose is to try and milk the blood up to your head. And those work great on Earth because gravity's doing the opposite. It's trying to flush it down to your feet. As soon as you get to weightlessness, your body doesn't know it's there. So it's like going, working away, squeezing the blood up to your head, but there's no gravity pushing it down to your feet. So your legs get skinnier and skinnier and skinnier, and your head and your chest starts swelling up, and your cheeks puff up, and your sinuses fill up, and your tongue gets swollen.
Is this a slow process, or is it almost kind of immediate, like once you're up there?
It's sort of like laying head down in a bed.
Yeah.
It's not like completely standing on your head. But if you get in your bed and you raise the foot of the bed, higher than normal, you'll feel after a while you're starting to get congested and you don't feel right because the blood is more collecting in your head than it would rather. But the trouble in space is it's permanent. You're never getting anything to sling it back down to your feet. And so what your body eventually does is it says, there's too much blood in your head and your chest. And so it just decreases the amount of overall blood in your body because you're not pooling as much in your legs. So you just lose blood volume, like I forget the number, 15 or 20% of the blood volume.
Whoa, okay. So you lose blood volume, and I've also heard that your bones deteriorate at a really fast rate. Is that?
Well, just when we're talking blood volume, think about though, if you had 20% less blood, think what happens if you have a beer up there.
Is there beer on
No, there isn't. But we think about it. It's just you got less blood.
So if you're watching this on YouTube, that was actually the YouTube video, which you can find on our channel. It's a 3D camera, so you can actually
360 camera.
360 degree camera. So you can spin the camera around. That's what was happening there when I pulled that. But what Chris Hadfield was talking about there has a little bit to do with this story that came out of the BBC about a space sleeping bag that's meant to solve astronauts' squashed eyeball disorder.
Whoa.
Okay. So scientists have developed a high-tech sleeping bag that could prevent the vision problems that some astronauts experience while living in space. In zero gravity, fluids float into the head and squash the eyeballs over time.
God damn, that sucks.
Wait, like squashes them, like pushes them.
Have
like
you ever
or
yeah, I think so. Have you ever been upside down for just a little bit too long? And you know that feeling in your head that you get
like
of
the pressure.
Pressure.
You get it when you do
like
headstands. If you used to do headstands a lot, like that pressure, like pressure around your eyes.
Right.
So this is regarded as one of the riskiest medical problems affecting astronauts, with some experts concerned it could compromise missions to Mars, obviously, because that would take a long time. The sleeping bag, what it does is it sucks fluid out of the head and towards the feet, countering the pressure buildup. Its development was led by this man, Dr. Benjamin Levine, professor of internal medicine at the University of Texas Southwestern Medical Center in Dallas, who is working on having the device deployed on the ISS, which is where Commander Hadfield, he commanded the ISS, the International Space Station.
Man, I immediately start to think of a sleeping bag that's like constricting you. It makes me think about how impossible it would be for me to fall asleep. And I know that we've talked about this on the podcast before, that like I have the ability to basically fall asleep anywhere.
Yeah.
But one thing that I find really annoying when I'm laying in bed at night is if I like have my arms over my head and I'm just stretching as I'm about to fall asleep, I can't fall asleep until I put my arms by my side. if I'm laying on my side and my arm is like in a weird position, touching my leg in a weird way, I can't fall asleep that way. I have to move it back. As soon as I do that and get into that comfortable position, I can fall asleep right away. But it's so like when something's touching me in a weird way, I find it really hard to fall asleep. If I had a fucking sleeping bag sucking the fluid out of my head and throwing it into the rest of my body, I'd never fall asleep.
But if the alternative was that you felt like your eyeballs were going to pop out, it would probably be
might feel normal.
Relatively comfortable.
Well,
Maybe.
here's an image, Bri. This is the sleeping bag. So for folks who are just listening, it honestly looks like an iron lung.
No, it doesn't, dude. It looks like a fucking you're being eaten by a centipede.
Well, that's what an iron lung is that, except you're up to your neck. But here the astronaut is only covered from the hips down.
Yeah, right.
So the top of their body is exposed and out, but this giant like hyperbolic chamber is wrapped around their waist and doing whatever the fuck inside there to their legs.
I feel like sleeping bag is a little bit of a misnomer.
Oh, for sure.
If you had a
sleeping machine,
both of those images on two pieces of paper and you started flipping back and forth between them, it would look like the sleeping bag thing is turning into the iron lung, but it's eating the person and it's slowly moving up the body.
So NASA has documented vision problems in more than half of the astronauts who served for at least 6 months on the ISS. Some became farsighted, had difficulty reading, and sometimes needed crewmates to assist in experiments. Quote, "We don't know how bad the effects might be on a longer flight, like a 2-year Mars operation," said Professor Levine, who is also director of the Institute for Exercise and Environmental Medicine, a collaboration between UT Southwestern and Texas Health Presbyterian? Oh, thanks.
Guys, I have
Presbyterian Hospital in Dallas.
I have another question that
Presbyterian?
is this super dumb?
That was super dumb.
This is almost as dumb as that. Why can't they simulate gravity on the International Space Station?
I mean,
It's a
how
good
would you
question.
simulate gravity?
I don't know.
I mean, I'm
I'm not smart enough to be on the International
in
Space
science
Station.
fiction, it's usually done with some sort of gigantic centrifuge.
Yeah, it's like something spinning. That's
like if you watch a classic scene from 2001: A Space Odyssey, the guy jogging, and as he's jogging on a track that is a giant wheel, and so it's like this slow moving hamster wheel.
It's always that in any sci-fi movie that is depicting a ship that's on like a long-term voyage.
I think the reason it's always like that is because there is some kind of science to back that up. Like if we had the capability of doing this thing, it would look like this.
That's what it was in The Martian as well.
Yeah.
I feel like maybe we're just stuck thinking inside the box then on this one. Maybe 2001: A Space Odyssey is just like that is now sort of like that is creating this bias in our thoughts.
That's right.
That, like it has to be done that way. But
When
maybe
really
we're just not.
It's
maybe
some,
we're
some
not-
other way.
Sorry, it might
Yeah.
not have been The Martian. It might have been Interstellar, or it might have been both.
It's probably both. Quote, "It would be a disaster if astronauts had such severe impairments that they couldn't see what they were doing and it compromised the mission," obviously. In 2005, astronaut John Phillips launched to the ISS with 20/20 vision and came back 6 months later with his vision at 20/100. Others experience a less severe version of the condition.
Is there
I
a
don't know what
breakdown
that
of what eyesight, what those numbers in eyesight, or vision?
There is.
I
I think
what do they mean?
2020, I believe, is a reference to a balance between how you see things close and how you see things
It is.
far.
So if you have 20/100 vision, it means that you must be as close as 20 feet to see what a person with normal vision can see at 100 feet. So at 20/20 vision would be
You mean 20/100?
20/100. Yes.
Right.
So it's always 20 a number.
Yeah.
20/20, 20/40, 20/60. So if you have 20/100, it means that you must be as close as 20 feet to the thing that you're looking at, and someone who has 20/20 vision would be able to see what you're seeing as far as 100 feet back.
So if you had-
That's 2100s of that's
Yeah, so you have to be
That's
five
bad
times
vision.
5 times closer.
So if
to
you
something.
had 20/40 vision, you would have to be 20 feet to see what somebody could see at 40 feet.
That's right.
So you have to be
Yeah.
twice as close.
Dude, I feel like I just learned something.
Yeah.
I know I just learned something.
but then there's
that
also in the other direction. I think there's a
2010.
there's something to say. Yes, like how somebody would see something. You'd have to be farther away.
Sorry, say that again.
Like the 2020,
Right.
2010 is saying, like 2010
Yes.
is saying that you need to be standing at 20 feet in order to see what most people would be seeing at 10.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so if you had 2010 vision,
so-
you're like, you've got really good vision. You have
No-
super vision.
No. You still have bad.
No, you have bad vision in the opposite direction. You're 2020 is a balance of
Oh, really?
nearsightedness to farsightedness. It's like you're seeing like typical what the average person can see. It's a balance between being able to see near and far.
This is
Whereas
great.
somebody who's nearsighted needs to move somebody who's nearsighted sees things better when they're
No.
closer.
No. In the rare instances where vision may test better than normal on a Snellen chart, a value of 2010 vision means that you can see clearly from a distance of 20 feet what a person with normal vision sees at a distance of 10.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
if you have 2010 vision, you're seeing super vision.
better.
Like you're seeing better than
Okay.
But
the best.
But is
you know,
that
or better
only-
than the typical?
Is that only describing farsightedness, or like how do you determine, like what measurement determines whether somebody's nearsighted?
Well,
or
let's see if it
farsighted?
says if you had 10-20 vision. I love that this is what this has turned into.
Yeah.
Your vision is weaker if it's 10-20. So in other words, a value of your vision is weaker at 10-20, but if it was 20-10, it would be.
But is it
better.
like fractions? Is 1020 the same as 2040?
So at 10-20, you would be.
I think so.
Holy fuck! All right, let's continue. Here.
What is it? What it does? It must, say.
we
no?
need to know.
If you have, it doesn't say it. 10-20 would be. So what I think is that 10-20 would mean that you would need to be standing 10 feet away, looking at something, what someone at 20 feet could see.
Right.
So you need to be closer to see what someone at 20 feet could see.
Right. So that's in the opposite direction. It's
Same as 2040.
Talking about
Yeah, I would say
it is.
you know what? I don't know why
anybody
anybody would go anywhere else for factual information on health.
this is it
That's-
right here.
That's
This is
probably
it.
why they don't say 1020, because it's just
Stupid.
because that's
It's
actually
redundant.
2040.
Yeah.
Sick Boy Podcast, where you get your health advice.
Hey, don't remember. Don't just completely. We'll just cut the whole bit about
Yeah.
this.
on Earth, so on Earth, gravity pulls fluids down from the body each time we get out of bed. This is known as something called unloading. But
Totally
in space,
forgot we were talking about this.
yeah. But in space, the low gravity allows more than half of a gallon of body fluid to gather in the head,
Ugh.
applying pressure to the eyeball.
It's funny because I
Half
feel
a gallon, dude. That's like 2 liters.
That's a lot.
I feel more qualified to speculate about eyesight than how the fluid is sucked from your body in space.
It can cause a condition called space-flight associated neuroocular syndrome, also known as SANS.
Of course.
This in turn can lead to a progressive flattening at the back of the eyeball, swelling of the optic nerve, and vision impairment. Quote, the pressure in 0G is always lower than the pressure in 1G, but it's not as low as when you're standing up. That's the problem. Normally, we spend 1/3 of our time laying down at night and 2/3 upright during the day. NASA astronauts can't stand up during flight. Even though the brain pressure in a person laying down on Earth is slightly higher than in someone in space, astronauts experience this pressure constantly and can never relieve it by shifting to an upright position. Dr. Levine explained, quote, they never get to unload the brain. So we asked, how can we reintroduce a gravitational gradient? The sleeping bag, developed with outdoor equipment manufacturer REI, fits around the person's waist, enclosing their lower body with a solid frame. A suction device that works on the same principle as a vacuum cleaner creates a pressure difference that draws fluids down towards the feet. This prevents it from building up in the brain and applying pressure, damaging pressure to the eyeballs. Several questions need to be answered before the sleeping bag technology is used routinely, including the optimal amount of time astronauts should spend in the sleeping bag each day. Dr. Levine explained, does everyone need to do this, or is it just the people who are at risk of developing SANS? Do you need to do it as soon as you get into space, or can you wait to see if your vision changes? So there's a bunch of different questions still remaining. We are back. Donut just ate some electronics, so we had to take a break there. Got that all sorted out. God damn, dog.
I love how the video is probably going to show. It's like now in hindsight, now that you know, you'll rewind and look at me.
What the fuck is happening
and how
with you?
I was looking over at Brian,
Yeah.
being like, "Oh my god, I'm pretty sure Donut's fucking munching on AirPods."
Well, anyway, so those sleeping bags, how about that? That's something else. Moving right along then.
I thought you were, when you were looking at me, Taylor, I thought you were like, because Jared was talking about the sleeping bag sucking on the guy's lower body. I'm like, what, do you have a thing about sucking toes or something?
Yeah, what's
like,
going on here?
what's go-
I also was like, why is this so funny?
Yeah.
It threw me off.
I was really confused.
Oh, fuck.
Now I'm sad.
Well, you know what, Bri? Here, this won't cheer you up, but this maybe this will help you with your sadness. Do you guys know what white ribbon is? I actually didn't know what white ribbon was about, and I'm surprised that I didn't until reading this article. So, white ribbon, since 1991, men have worn white ribbons as a pledge to never commit, condone, or remain silent about all forms of gender-based violence and discrimination. Through education, awareness raising, outreach, technical assistance, capacity building, and partnerships, White Ribbons programming challenges negative, outdated concepts of manhood and inspires men to understand and embrace the incredible potential they have to be a part of positive change. So White Ribbon has put together this very interesting project that, Bri, you sent my way last week. White Ribbon is employing the universal language of music to challenge entrenched cultural norms about gender roles and male vulnerability in a new campaign. The campaign, which is called Uncompromised, is built around a piece of original orchestral music specifically designed by world-renowned producer Jared Kemper, Canadian Opera Company music director, Johannes Dubus, and several North American cognitive scientists to evoke strong emotions in their listener.
Also, somebody send this to me. I'm gonna find out who it is.
Yeah, see who it was, because this is so fucking fascinating. So in an experiment, a number of men who expressed traditional beliefs about male vulnerability, namely that they should repress their emotions and deal with them privately, were then brought in to listen to the music performed live for them by a quintet in partnership with the Canadian Opera Company, and their emotional responses were recorded.
It was Juice. Juice sent it to me.
Thank you, Juice.
Cassette.
The goal of the experiment was to discover just how deeply held those beliefs about emotional strength are, and whether or not the organization could guide the participants to a new, healthier variation of masculinity through music. The men's journeys were recorded and now have been released in a cut-down, short documentary format. Quote, "As a man, showing vulnerability isn't a sign of weakness, it's actually a sign of strength," says Joseph Bocchini, partner and ECD at creative agency Ben-Simone Byron, which helped to develop the campaign. Quote, "Blocking out all of those emotions society tells you that you shouldn't feel or express as a man is destructive of your mental health." And of course, this is something we spoke to at length in our Movember episode with Dr. John Olive. They went on to say, quote, "Our goal is to ignite social change that promotes emotional literacy and helps literacy and healthy masculinities," adds Humberto Carollo, executive director of White Ribbon, which had made previous efforts the challenge in the ways men and boys express their emotions. Society has taught men to be strong and repressing their emotions. It has heroized this version of masculinity. Uncomposed will start a conversation and encourage men and boys to acknowledge and express a range of complex emotions. So in 2021, survey commissioned by White Ribbon shows the extent of the issue. Though 76% of North Americans believe boys and girls are taught differently how to express their emotions, and almost 150 million North Americans would feel relief if showing emotion was more widely accepted. At least 30 million of them have told their sons not to cry.
Whoa.
Oh, wow.
Further, more than that, 81 million North American men say they're reluctant to cry out of fear they'll seem weak. 81 million men. and another 46% say they find it difficult to express their emotions to anyone aside from their immediate family and partner. The documentary video is only part of a longer campaign built around this piece of music, Bocchini says, noting that, quote, the goal is for this piece of music to be distributed as widely as we can possibly get it. A recording of the track has been released on Spotify for streaming and download, and the agency is talking with other opera and symphony companies globally to get them to play the piece as well. In addition, White Ribbon has released the sheet music to the public so other musicians can learn and play the track. So this track was put together using science to essentially elicit emotions in men, utilizing certain like keys and notes and tones done through classical music.
How do you guys feel about that?
I think it's I think
How
it's
do you feel about
amazing. I think it's fascinating, and I think it's likely highly effective.
I think it's a little Black Mirror-esque for me.
And okay, all right, let's break this down because why?
I feel like so. Listen, my caveat to what I'm about to say is that number one, that stat about like 45 or 46% of men not feeling comfortable crying in front of like their loved one, their partner, that's fucking bananas.
Crazy.
That's crazy.
It's hard to wrap your head around.
And as somebody who feels comfortable crying in front of my friends, family, partner, whoever, if there's something that can help other people experience that and be able to have that natural release of emotion, I think it could be incredibly valuable. That's a caveat. The thing about this that makes me feel weird is that it is really like they've found this tone that can sort of manipulate how a person feels.
But it's
which is kind of fucking bananas.
Right. So
Right?
When I read this, it made me think about particular songs that have that effect with me. And Brian, I know you don't listen to music and don't watch and don't like movies or television, but so this might be hard for you to wrap your pea brain around.
Yeah, I know. I'm very uncultured.
Music. You probably don't know this, but music.
What is it again? What is music?
Series of instruments that play in unison together to perform.
Oftentimes
to create.
vocals
Yeah.
are a part of it.
Yeah.
So which is people basically saying words, but like at the same kind of like melody as
like Happy Birthday would be music.
That's a music.
That's the only one.
That is a music.
That's a
Yeah.
music.
I know that one.
So there are songs that there's an entire album that I almost go out of my way to not listen to if I want to avoid being highly emotional. Like I know there's a Jeff Buckley album that I know if I just decide to listen to one of those songs on that album or the album in its entirety, I am going to have a very like very serious emotional
Isn't there
release.
a Jeff Buckley cover of like Hallelujah?
That song in particular,
yeah, I fucking hate that song.
destroys me. Destroys me.
No, I hate it because it makes me feel such strong emotions. But yes, I know what you mean. I know exactly what you mean. Yes.
So this song, I listened to this piece that White Ribbon put together, and it didn't have that same effect on me. But like, another example was
I feel like music is unfortunately way too subjective of an experience
for this to be as like
for it to be widely
accepted,
useful.
Yeah.
Or
but that's my point about this thing is that so the same way that you might be served a Facebook ad and it might have it might not speak to you at all, even though you're the targeted audience, the right interest group, whatever. You see a Facebook ad as you're scrolling through Facebook, like I know you love doing all the time. You're just always on Facebook.
Can't stop.
And you see this ad and you just scroll by it, right? And it didn't speak to you in the same way that the creator of that ad intended for it to. But on a large scale, according to the data, statistically, that ad will influence many people to do something. In the same way that this piece of music
likely will have that
will
effect.
statistically be able to influence many people to feel a specific
what I don't
emotion,
understand,
which is Black Mirror-esque to me.
I don't
Even though I
know.
understand
I don't know
the value.
about
I know, I
Black
mean,
Mirror.
Black-
I mean,
Black
like
Mirror's
Black
a
Mirror
little
is usually
heavy.
things that you're like, well,
Dystopian
this
technology.
isn't good. Yeah, like
Yeah.
this is objectively
Guys.
a bad thing.
And this is the first scene of
Nanobot
that.
bees
This is the
just
first
fucking
scene.
basically killing all humans. That's
This
bad.
is the first scene of that episode where the one person is like blowing the horn and saying, "Hey,
This is bad.
look out!"
The thing that I think I'm failing to see, and maybe I missed it there in the synopsis of what is going on with this project. But what I see as an issue with men having issues expressing emotion, it's not the feeling. I'm not sure if men have a problem with feeling the emotions that they have. I think it's of expressing them. It's about letting them be visualized on them for others to see. So how does this project allow them to feel more more comfortable with showing those emotions that they feel outwardly?
Well,
to
I think
others?
strictly just through the it's an awareness campaign, right? Like this really is an awareness campaign to help stimulate. It's the same thing that Movember does, like to help stimulate conversation.
Yeah.
And so to a man who someone is encouraging this person to be more open and vulnerable about their emotions, like this is a launch pad for that.
God, it's such a damn shame because, like what you said there, Brian, at the very beginning, when you're like, "That's bananas," like people not being comfortable. Like I feel the exact same way. I mean, I just feel like it's been my default mode most of my life, all of my life, really. So it's very hard to try and wrap my head around the idea of feeling like I need to suppress the way that I feel to anybody, really. And it really, but on that side of things, even though it's been my default mode, I can very much put language to how useful and beneficial it is to express yourself and to express your emotions, and to have, even though I have a very, very limited range of them,
Mm-hmm.
like they're almost not even there.
Not at all. Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't even use the word almost, but
yeah, like
sure.
not. Yeah. Like
not
don't
there.
exist.
Sliver of emotion that does exist
Yeah.
within my meat vehicle.
Man, your poor child.
I
I just feel so bad.
I can
for your
express it.
kid.
I can express it.
Yeah.
It's singular.
I see. It took me a while to laugh at that because I wasn't sure if you were just being finally honest and authentic with us about like
That's why
how
I didn't.
narrow
I didn't
the-
laugh at
yeah.
it because
Yeah, and
that's the fact.
Oh,
then I
guys.
laughed because I wanted you to feel a little bit more comfortable, and
I also started to feel
Hey,
awkward because I
guys,
thought he was.
guys.
Then I was like, oh, he thinks it's funny.
Guys, he thinks
he's joking.
I have an emotional range that is as diverse as the spectrum of light.
wow.
And so some of them you can't even see with the human eye. That's how diverse my emotional spectrum
Your
is.
emotional spectrum is 1020, dude.
See, my emotional spectrum isn't really that diverse. It's just really intense.
Guys,
Like, it's
I'm
really
a-
intense. At
Guys,
certain
I'm
limits.
about to be a girl dad, and it is I'm fully embodied.
You're gonna raise Canada's
I'm
first
such a
female
giddy-
serial killer.
no, dude. I am.
I'm calling it right now,
I-
folks. By the age of 13, there's going to be 17 dead cats in his neighborhood, and they're all going to be in his backyard.
You know what, Jared? Honestly, that would be true if we weren't the uncles. You know, like if,
That's true. Yeah, thank God for us.
Thank
Yeah,
God
dude,
for
it
us,
takes a fucking village, guys. We know this.
But do you guys have any music that kind of elicits that same kind of like
Dude,
emotional
oh
response?
yeah. Sometimes
Because music does that. So music does that to me far easier, far quicker than any book, any movie, any video game, like anything any kind of media that I've ingested in my time.
Yeah.
Music by far is the one
Totally.
And
that
for me, it's like
hits me harder.
It's like Creed or like Puddle of Mud.
yeah.
It's really like,
You're like default.
yeah.
Theory of a Dead Man.
Yeah.
Nickelback.
Nin, like a big Nin
I mean,
fan.
Nickelback's the more popular one that you don't really, but like Theory of a Dead Man, obviously.
Nin?
Yeah.
Dude, Nin?
Wait,
Nin?
what's Nin? Oh,
Nin
9
makes-
Inch Nails.
Nin just makes me horny. Nin
Yeah,
just makes me
Juice and
horny
Jams.
for
No,
leather.
yeah, Juice and Jams.
Um,
Slipknot and Corner, like for sure.
I like Andy.
Slipknot actually and Korn do elicit emotions in me.
Oh, I mean, yeah, very.
I wanna break-
intense.
I wanna
wanna
break
break
shit.
shit.
Yeah.
I want to break your fucking face tonight, Limp Bizkit.
That's
I think Andy Schaaf really does it for me.
yeah.
Andy
yeah.
Schaaf is very emotional for me.
Big Thief is another one for me.
Big Thief. I've been really into Big Thief the last couple weeks.
Yeah, Goo Goo Dolls.
The last time I dosed LSD, I was at
Matchbox 20.
Big Thief came on, and I totally broke down. It was really intense.
It's very beautiful.
For me, Broken Social Scene. Forgiveness Rock record is
Broken Social Scene for sure.
Or a like Feel Good Loss. Like
Now
but
hold
not-
on, is
sorry.
that emotion or is that just nostalgia?
Sorry, no, not emotion. It's an emotional stress relief. It's like
Right.
so when I used to work, and not in this a nostalgia sense, but when I was working in Dubai and I was like working in events, which can be very stressful. At the end of an event, when like my heart rate is high and like I'm just feeling totally like maxed out and like I have zero energy left.
Listening to that
Putting
album's
those on
your
and
therapy.
sitting back, it's
Yeah.
totally therapeutic. And
I get
like
that.
and like crying to it not in like a sadness release, but like in like a stress
Yeah.
relief, like an emotional response to like
Joel Plaskett also does
basically
it
like
for
being
me a lot.
burnt out probably.
Well, let us know what we'd love to know what music has this effect on you. Letters at sickboypodcast.com, or you can leave a comment below if you're watching on YouTube. We'd love to hear it from you. All right, guys, I cannot contain my excitement about this next little bit. So a little birdie slid into my email inbox to inform me about a project that is taking part in a school here in Halifax, Armbray Academy.
Oh, this is the revamp of Artzuka, the live show.
No, this is not that. This is a school project all about health and technology. And there is a young man named Jet. Yes,
Jet.
his name is Jet. And Jet has type 1 diabetes. And so you would think that Jet would be like, well, I'm going to do my project on type 1 diabetes.
Hey, maybe in 5 years he won't.
Maybe he won't have diabetes. That's right.
Maybe. Hard maybe.
We'll see. We'll see. But Jet, instead of doing a project on type 1 diabetes, he actually watched the Sick Boy documentary, which you watch on CBC Gem right now. And he was so inspired by it that he decided to do his project on cystic fibrosis. And it is an app that he created. So Jet is in grade 8. It's a grade 8 science class project. The email that I got from our friend Andrew said, our little guy, this is from Asif, which is Jet's dad.
Okay, I just want to say, he's in grade 8. We can no longer refer to him as little guy or little man.
Grade
This
8?
is- This
So
is
he's
a
14, 13?
Yeah, this is this cool kid.
This
cool guy.
This cool guy.
Jet, 'cause,
His
he's
father,
fucking cool.
His father reached out to say, our little guy.
No, it's this cool guy.
Sorry, I'll just edit the email that his father, this cool guy.
And it wasn't his dad. Some prestigious guy sent an email saying,
Yeah,
keep
his
going.
Father,
Yeah.
His father.
Our cool guy had to do a project for his grade 8 science class, and they had to create something they thought would assist in a health-related topic. Since he has he's a type 1 diabetic, I thought he might choose that for a topic, but he was really intrigued by Jeremy's story after watching Sick Boy, and I think it moved him a lot, and he decided to try and create an app that would help CF patients. So here is the app, and we're going to put the link to the app in the show notes for anybody else who has CF or anyone who knows someone with CF, so you can send it to them. Guys, I found this thing fucking helpful immediately, especially now that I have Trikafta. Because as you know, I have to take Trikafta twice a day, in the morning and at night. I need 12 hours apart between taking them, the pills, and I need to take it with a meal. So here's the app. You can open it up on your phone. You've got alarms, survey, and breath. In the alarms feature, you can set an alarm for every minute, every 9 minutes, every hour, every half hour. And the survey, this is great. It's got questions to ask yourself every day. So, did you eat enough today? Or did you run out of meds? Are you breathing okay? And then once you submit it, you get survey responses. So everybody else who's used the app, you can see what the answers are. And then there's this Breathe app. And again, we're watching this on YouTube. So if you want to see what it looks like, go over to YouTube, check it out. This one here is great. It reminds you to breathe. And it's a little breathing exercise where you breathe in for 6 seconds, hold for 6 seconds, and breathe out for 6 seconds with this little set of lungs that are pumping away to the breath. I fucking love this app, Jet. It's saved to my home screen on my phone. I have a little button that I can press to bring it up. And congratulations, if your teacher does not give you an A+, and I was literally talking to your teacher today, Miss J, if she doesn't give you an A+, hit me up.
And we'll do something about it.
And we will fucking do something about it.
We'll show up in your class.
We will literally
we'll do something about it.
Yeah, we'll light a bag of dog shit and leave it on Mrs. J's doorstep.
Yeah.
If she gives you
and you can take that to the bank.
Yeah, that's right.
Have you guys ever done a flaming
bag
of dog shit?
Yeah, dude.
No, I didn't.
That was all we were doing in
I egged a
Sackville.
lot of houses.
Did that a lot too, yeah. So Jet, thank you for the app. To the grade 8 students at Ombre Academy. I heard that a bunch of you made some really, really cool stuff, and your teacher was so gracious to say that they would send it my way. Thank you. That you're the fucking man. You're a cool guy, and congratulations on something that for sure should get an A. And if it's not an A, you come fucking talk to me. Right?
Yeah, you come let us know.
Also, Asif, his father was the amazing musician who composed music for the Sick Boy documentary. So thanks for that.
I was going to say, Jed, I do have some feedback though. Under the survey response, you should also collect data like SIN numbers and credit card numbers and stuff, because like that,
Dude,
honestly,
collect data.
Yeah,
Collect data.
Sure. I mean, location tracking is really the most
money, baby.
I mean, but even more direct, because it's really easy for you to mask as somebody who really cares. Like you're making this health app for these people with cystic fibrosis to be able to track their disease, and you can
get
really,
that data and then sell it, make bank, and fucking
sell it to insurance companies, honestly.
Or Cambridge Analytica. I'm sure they're in the market.
Because if you're filling out survey responses saying like my health is poor, it's in decline, then the insurance companies, they can just up your premiums and stuff. Yeah, it's fucking good.
That's right. Listen, we got a few more things. We're making this episode a little longer than usual because, folks, the holidays are upon us. Omicron is coming in hot.
Omicron,
and so we're going to take a little holiday break. This will be the last Feel Good Friday that we release until the new year, so a little bit longer than usual. This next piece, Tay, you brought this to us last week. We were talking about New Zealand, and they've been cracking down hard on the anti-smoking.
Yeah.
And there's some news coming out about the tactics that they're using.
Yeah, this came out a couple of days ago, and I think this might have been what was it now? I'm trying to think of what was there was a pretty specific catalyst to want to talk to I'm blanking on the doc's name now. The guy that we talked to from the University of Waterloo about vaping.
Vape Daddy.
Vape Daddy.
Dr. Vape Daddy.
Dr. Vape Daddy, right. I think was his name. And I think it was actually prompted by this. So New Zealand has some like really progressive and quite intense aims to stop smoking amongst their population. So they had aimed for a smoke-free society, or they talked about having a smoke-free society by a certain point in the future. And they just passed legislation that is aimed at creating a smoke-free generation by 2027, meaning that anybody born after 2008 will never be able to legally purchase cigarettes in New Zealand.
Crazy.
Whoa. Wow.
And they're doing a bunch of stuff on top of that. So the level of nicotine that's contained in cigarettes sold to people who are of legal age will be reduced. They didn't really give any numbers on like what it is and what it's going to, but the amount of nicotine in cigarettes is going to be reduced. So any cigarettes that are like imported into New Zealand will have to be manufactured with a lower nicotine.
That's pretty
content.
interesting, because would that just make people smoke more?
No, I think it
Reducing the
fuck,
amount of
I mean,
nicotine?
that's probably a complicated question. I'm not sure.
Yeah. I don't know.
By 2024, the number of this is really crazy, because this is soon. I mean, this is in 2 years. The number of retailers who can sell cigarettes will be reduced. This is all in gradually reducing the amount of people that are smoking up until 2027, where it will basically be illegal. It will be fully illegal to buy cigarettes. So by 2024.
So wait, in 2027, no matter when you were born, you just won't be able to buy cigarettes, period.
Yeah, and I think it means that anybody born after 2008 would have never gotten to legal smoking age before it became illegal.
Yeah, right.
So
Fuck,
you know what
New
I mean?
Zealand, smoke them if you got them. You know what I'm saying?
So by 2024, the number of retailers who can sell cigarettes will be reduced from 8,000 to 500.
Wow.
So like,
Wow.
I mean, think
In
about
2 years.
You think about like how many liquor stores there are in Halifax, but there's only like 4 sell cannabis.
Yeah, right.
So sort of similar to that, I guess.
Dude, whoever owns those businesses for that little period of time are going to be making bank.
Well, yeah, and if it's regulated in a similar sort of way, at least in a similar sort of way that alcohol is to how it's regulated specifically here in Nova Scotia, it's all government run stuff. I'm not sure if that's how it works for cigarette sales or alcohol sales in New Zealand, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was. And this is all part of a really long-term plan. Like, it was in 2011 that they set a goal of reducing the rate of smoking to 5% by 2025. So they've been looking at this for the last decade and trying to move towards reducing smoking. They're pretty far off that goal. The rate of smoking in New Zealand is 13%, which is down from 18% a decade ago when they made that goal of 5% by 2025. So they're quite a bit off pace. They've only reduced it by 5% in that decade. In 2018, a law was passed requiring tobacco products. This is similar to Canada. A law was passed requiring tobacco products to be sold in dark brown and green colored packaging. There's probably some marketing science around that being undesirable colors for marketing.
Kind of Black Mirror-esque, if you ask me.
And no company logos or imagery. Whereas like we have blatant like pictures of people dying on our smoking packages in Canada. And the same font for all labels. That's been something that's been in effect since 2018. And there's crazy taxes, which is the same in here.
I don't understand how that like makes any difference.
What,
you know,
taxes?
Like, no, the just like no name branding.
I think they're just trying to reduce the idea that
I guess if like
that you can
like
convince a consumer that a certain product is better.
Like Marlboro, I guess like, you know, like I guess
trying to reduce the effect of
I get it.
marketing.
Yeah, that makes
One
sense.
other thing they did here though is you're not allowed to display cigarettes anywhere.
That's right.
So like
Had to be
that.
behind
they have to be kept up the asshole of the person working on shift.
Which
And
is
they can
hard
only-
for them to keep a lot in
You can only
stock.
there's a limit of 5.
That's a Halifax thing.
There's a limit of 5 packs of cigarettes per day, which
That's
is
why
weird
they call them
because
butt
they're still sharp edged rectangle packaging, which is weird.
That's 'cause, most people who own convenience stores, for whatever reason, it's just like an anomaly. It's actually one of the traits that is easy to tell if somebody is destined to own a convenience store.
You need to have a rectangular anus.
Yes, like a perfect rectangle. It's
So
interesting.
I mentioned that already. 13% of New Zealanders smoke, down from 18% a decade ago. Way off their target of hitting 5% by 2025, but a significantly higher proportion of the Maori population smokes, which is 31%, as opposed to 13% nationally of the whole population, which is, I guess, probably pretty similar to Canada in the way that like there's a way higher smoking rate in Quebec in particular. Like Quebec, smoking in Quebec is like way high, like orders of magnitude higher than anywhere else in.
I wonder what the numbers are for like smoking in the indigenous population here in Canada.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure there's stats on it.
Yeah.
So and the last thing is that there's no adoption of vaping from like a government
Right.
policy standpoint,
Where we've been
to
seeing that a lot
to
here
help
and in the
people
UK.
quit.
Yeah.
It's not like a harm reduction
No.
option for them.
Now, I am, when it comes to like government regulation, I'm probably right down the middle. I'm probably pretty center on that.
Well,
But
we all know where you stand about the vaccines. So, and we don't have to get into that.
but I'm probably
a
Actually, I
health
don't think we've
podcast.
ever gotten to it on the show because, well, anyway, go ahead. What were you saying?
I'm probably pretty a little right of center in terms of regulation. And I definitely am in terms of regulating substances, because I think broadly that banning a substance is really just creates a.
Well, I mean, look what happened banning, drugs, like the war on drugs. That wasn't fucking good.
I mean, I think that this is just going to open up an unregulated market of black market of buying and selling cigarettes,
Which in turn is going to, I mean, I don't know,
Yeah.
maybe not people end up in jail, but it could lead that way.
Yeah, I tend to think less so with cigarettes. Like, of course there will be some type of black market that exists. I just see it as being less, like, not as big as it would be for like alcohol or drugs that can change.
I don't know, man.
Can change the way that you think.
People like their cigarettes.
I understand too, but it's because it's such a. So think about the way that smoking was popular in like the 50s and 60s and 70s. It's a social thing and it's a culturally accepted thing. But as soon as it started to become less socially acceptable to smoke, there was a massive decrease in amount of people who took up smoking. It was sort of different with drinking. Drinking when there's prohibition on alcohol, drinking actually sort of became more popular in an underground scene, and that created this like massive black market for alcohol. But it also totally changes your like it has like,
and it's the most social drug known to man for all of humankind.
right.
For all of mankind's history.
The thing I find interesting about smoking is that it doesn't have psychoactive properties. It's addictive, without a doubt, but like it's hard to find somewhere to just like go and smoke in public if it's illegal. Like think about here when they tried to implement the smoking stations
That
around
was
the
so
city.
ridiculous.
That was
Like,
bad.
I just listened to I was just listening today. I'm in the midst of it right now. Listening to a podcast by Peter Adia. He's talking to a guy named David Nutt, which is a hilarious last name. Spelled with 2 T's, and they're talking about basically like the effects, the psychoactive effects of like a lot of psychedelics. But also they go into like to talk about every drug, and they also talk about the discrepancy between what the drug actually does and the harm that it causes, and how governments regulate it and put a severity, and how there's usually a mismatch between what the drug actually does and what the
Like when weed was Schedule 1.
right. It's like totally insane.
Yeah.
Like makes no there's nothing based in evidence on it.
Yeah.
And right at the very beginning of that podcast, they pretty early on they go into like tobacco use and alcohol use, and the way in which they are so like entrenched in our like cultural and social sort of use of them that that there's like a rating of how harmful they have an analysis, like a 16-point analysis on how harmful something is to the user, and also how harmful something is to society because of a user taking it. So they talked about how alcohol is like by far the most destructive substance, because it doesn't only hurt the user of the thing, it has a really big social impact. And then like some other drugs that, really hurt the user but don't have like a big social impact because it's not regulated like alcohol is and used as a social thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really know what I'm saying about that other than I know what you mean. Like, I think that there is a difference, because cigarettes aren't like when prohibition's on with alcohol, you wanted to gather and go somewhere and drink with people. But like, I don't think people are going to want to like gather around and go smoke cigarettes together somewhere.
Exactly. Yeah. That's what I find is really hard to imagine. Like, it's hard to imagine the attraction to go and get cigarettes, especially for kids, because like a lot of these bad habits start
They form as kids. Yeah.
when you're kids, right? So it's hard to imagine kids getting together and being like, man,
Oh,
let's go
really?
get some of these
That's hard to
cigarettes."
imagine. It's
Yeah.
funny because we about 45 minutes ago we were talking about kids gathering to knock each other out by sitting on each other's chests.
That's because it fucks you up and creates this like altered state of consciousness.
Yeah, but
where you're
nicotine does that too in
Not
a
in the
sense,
same-
but it
not
gives
in
you
the
this.
same way.
It does give you a high. I mean, guy, I'm on it right now. Like
I'm stoked right now.
I'm on nicotine now.
But it's to me, it's more so like because we're having this conversation briefly the other day, but like what's comparable to like banning cigarettes. The reason why cigarettes are being banned is not because they alter your state of consciousness and make you go and do fucking crazy shit.
it's 'cause
They're
they kill
banned
you.
because they're bad for you.
Yeah.
They're bad for you and they kill you. And so what other things in society are banned or not allowed purely for the fact that they will negatively impact your health?
yeah,
Like,
Also,
there's-
Jared, I don't
it's
think
hard-
they're banning tobacco products. I think it's a specific cigarette ban.
yes, yeah, right.
So the thing that like when I'm thinking of that question, I haven't been able to think of something else that has ever been banned that is just purely just bad for you, and they're
Yeah.
telling you can't have this. But
I
it
mean,
would be
it's
sort of-
not banned, but like we've seen like schools eliminate soft drinks. Yeah, like you go to a school, you can't get a Coke at school now. Like,
well, I was kind of thinking like the only other
whereas like
thing
when I
that
was going to
would-
school, it was like a Pepsi machine in the fucking hallway.
Yeah.
like the only thing that would be comparable is fast foods or sugary foods would be like they're obviously not banned, but like imagine they started enforcing laws where McDonald's was no longer allowed to make tasty fast food. It had to taste like shit because it's bad for you. So you're not allowed to like you're not allowed to sell flavored tobacco because that will get people hooked on this. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
you're no longer
I mean,
allowed
it's
to
pretty
make
much
tasty fast
it's pretty
food.
much salt, like
Right. Yeah.
basically salt. Like salt in fast food is like the nicotine equivalent in
yeah.
in cigarettes.
It is interesting.
Sort of.
It is
Yum.
really interesting because I mean, I agree with you on
Yeah.
government regulation, Taylor. I'm probably roughly in the same spot, but yeah, this feels like to me it feels like a pretty good
I mean,
idea.
I am probably a pretty good example of somebody who would, if I was in a society where it was allowed and then it was just all of a sudden not allowed, that I would go, it's too much of a hassle for me now.
Yeah.
Because like, I didn't have any snooze left, and then you got an order from fucking Denmark or Sweden or wherever it's coming
Yeah.
from, and I was like, oh, can I have one? And you were like, I didn't get enough, and you were like, order some, and I was like,
Yeah, right.
and so like, I mean, fuck, that's like 3 clicks away.
It is so
On the
easy.
internet.
Yeah, it's so easy.
But just because like you didn't hand it to me,
yeah,
I was like,
fuck it. Yeah.
that's a little bit
Yeah.
further of a way around than
Well,
I'd like to go.
I guess we'll see. We'll see what happens in New Zealand, and it'll be interesting to see, like 5, 6, 7 years out from here,
Yeah.
what the scene will be. Here, let's get to some silly shit, some silly COVID shit. Last week we talked about the guy in our ding dong of the week. We talked about the guy that had the fake arm. Man, there is so much of this shit going around now. Anti-vaxxers attempt to bribe doctors for a fake vaccine, but end up with the real thing. So this is from Unilad. Anti-vaxxers have reportedly been tricked into receiving the real vaccine after they tried to bribe doctors for a fake one. Fake coronavirus vaccines have reportedly been taking place across Greece at dozens of vaccination centers as anti-vaxxers seek to participate in activities usually restricted to those who are vaccinated or look to avoid the twice weekly tests. The fake vaccinations are said to cost €400. However, upon being paid to inject anti-vaxxers with water, doctors have been administering the real vaccine over fears of being caught by authorities.
Yeah, because like also why not? Since there's like a
Since they're showing up.
99.9999999% chance that they'll just be fucking vaccinated and
Now-
we'll never know the
Now,
difference.
I mean, yes, but also, kind of a sticky situation because you're the person's going, I want you to inject me, but I want you to inject me with water, and the doctors are going, yes, got you, and then they inject them with a vaccine. You're technically giving someone a treatment without their consent.
Yeah,
I
but
agree
how
with
are
you,
you?
but I think that
how
gets
are you
thrown out the
ever
window.
going to prove that in court? Like,
Well,
how would
well,
that person-
now that it's in the news, now that people have been getting caught finding out, right? So some members of the public have wanted to receive the fake vaccine in order to be free to perform certain activities which require vaccine passports. Others have decided to pay for it to prevent them from having to perform twice weekly rapid tests. However, according to Mega TV in Greece, upon talking the bribe payment this has got to be typo. Upon talking the bribe payment, doctors have still injected some anti-vaxxers with the real vaccinations over fear of getting caught. Out of the 2,000 vaccine centers in Greece, it is anticipated that between 100 to 200 and 200 to 300 doctors and nurses have been involved in the scandal. It's estimated that illegal methods have been used to obtain fax vaccination certificates by more than 100,000 citizens.
Whoa.
Despite the irony of the anti-vaxxers having been vaccinated, the issue is morally complex. While anti-vaxxers are now protected from coronavirus, the doctors administered the injection without their consent, and legal action could subsequently be pursued by the anti-vaxxers. However, they would have to admit to bribery, making any
Right.
possible case
See?
unlikely.
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah.
And the doctors who are doing that are probably they're just weighing relative risk and going, what's worse, that I give somebody something that they didn't give me consent for, this vaccine that is statistically harmless.
Now, if the doctor keeps the money, then what happens?
If they can prove it.
I don't know.
Right? Does that I feel like that also
it's
like,
almost impossible because there's likely no written proof that the doctor
definitely
accepted the bribe by
unless
saying
it was e-transferred.
even if
or
it was
Venmoed.
even if it was e-transferred or
Well, I mean,
Venmoed,
that's
like
just stupid.
It has to
it would have to have the message saying,
Yeah.
and then like in the message, like you are accepting
fake
that this
vaccine.
is a
maybe
bribe
they
for
should
the
do it
fake
all
vaccine.
via crypto. Maybe
Yeah.
that's the ticket,
Yes.
for the
Yeah.
doctors.
anonymous.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to include that in Ding Dong of the Week, but
Did you hear about the guy who was getting vaccinated on behalf of other people?
well, let me get to Ding Dong of the Week,
Is
our,
that-
our new segment that we're bringing to the show.
Ding dong.
Ding dong. So Charles sent an email to us. Thank you, Charles. And actually, we had a number of people send messages with the Ding Dong of the Week potentials. Had to sift through a bunch of them to get to two really great ones, but both of these come from Charles. This is from the Daily Mail. So we'll start with this one. This came out last week. I heard this on last podcast on the left, and it made me laugh. Army bomb squad technicians were sent to a hospital after a man arrived in casualty with a World War II anti-tank shell lodged up his ass.
Oh, yeah.
So medics called for specialist support after the man presented in the accident and emergency unit of the Gloucestershire Royal Hospital in Gloucester, when he could not remove the 57 millimeter shell. The military collector claimed, so this guy was a military collector, claimed the armor-piercing munition was from his private arsenal.
It was from his.
Dude.
It was up his private arsenal.
That's hilarious.
He told medics that the 80-year-old explosive device became lodged after he tripped and fell awkwardly.
Dude, why bother saying something that dumb?
A source told The Sun the guy said he found the shell when he was having a clear out of his stuff. Quote, he said he put it on the floor and then he slipped and fell on it and it went up his ass. Quote, he was in considerable amount of pain. I think he collected military memorabilia.
Hold on. Did he slip and fall on it after he had accidentally pulled his pants down?
Well,
Yes.
we'll never know.
Or did it protrude through his pants, and is there visual evidence of that? Because that's the only way in which I could ever believe that.
Well, I think what happened here was that he didn't slip and fall and he just shoved it way up his ass.
Yeah, definitely.
He could have been naked.
But the best part
Why
about
would
this
he be
is,
naked?
the best part
Because
about
man, you'd never like done stuff around your house.
yeah, you don't do a big clear out with your balls out.
I don't clear out with no clothes on,
Oh, it's my favorite pastime. But high risk.
as is evident.
So the best part about this, police were called to the hospital, as were the Army bomb squad.
Because of the risk of it going off? Or?
Yeah. A second source told The Sun, quote, it was a solid shot round. It was chunky, pointed lump of lead designed to rip through tank's armor. It was basically an inert lump of metal, so there was no risk to life, at least not to anyone else's. But the hospital didn't know that. They were like, there's a fucking bomb up his ass. Like, get the fucking Army bomb squad up in here to defuse this bomb up this guy's ass.
Dude, there's just no end to what people just want to shove up their ass.
Do you think they called the Army and were like, hey, we need you to come in here and defuse this situation?
Dude,
I hope.
I'm a dad to be, and I disapprove.
So that was ding dong number 1. And again, if you guys forget how this works, I give you 2 ding dongs, and you have to decide which one's ding dong of the week.
Okay.
This next one's from Insider. A man is accused of running a fraudulent vaccination by proxy scheme. He was paid to take up to 10 COVID-19 shots a day for other people.
God, dude, that can't be good.
I like this guy.
So this guy is doing this out of protest of the whole smoking thing in New Zealand. A man in New Zealand who is accused of running a fraudulent vaccination by proxy scheme is currently under investigation by the country's Ministry of Health. He received up to 10 COVID shots in a single day on behalf of other people as a part of the scheme. The man is accused of being hired by and taking payments from those seeking to falsify their vaccine records in order to be afforded the freedoms granted to those who are vaccinated. In New Zealand, The Guardian said, unvaccinated people face restrictions on gathering sizes and entering hospitality businesses, like most places. Those who have had their shots, on the other hand, are able to do that shit without any problems. The man is believed to have visited several vaccination centers as a part of the scheme. Stuff New Zealand reported, the locations of these centers have not been disclosed. Per the New Zealand Herald, Astrid Kumneef, the country's group manager of operations for the COVID-19 vaccine and immunization program, said that the Ministry of Health is aware of the issue. Quote, we are very concerned about this situation and are working with the appropriate agencies. Kumneef told Newsweek in a statement that those who had had more shots than recommended in a single day to, quote, seek clinical advice as soon as possible. This is not a safe thing to do. This is putting a person at risk. Auckland University professor Nikki Turner, medical director of the Immunization Authority Advisory Center, told Stuff. I mean, that can't be good.
No. Dude, so, like, personal opinion, this guy is clearly ding dong of the week because putting something up your ass, you can find out what the adverse effects are going to be of that. You can go on the internet and go, how big of a thing should I put up my ass? Yeah. And if I put something too big up my ass, what's the risk? And the internet will provide. If you go, what happens if I take 10 COVID vaccines in a day? It's going to go, I don't know.
Dude, how severe did he, like, how, you know, I felt like shit after one.
Oh my God, dude. I can't imagine. I mean, maybe he just takes it really well.
Isn't it kind of is that not proof
like the guy in
for
the
anti-vaxxers
like the guy
that
with
it's safe
the
to take?
shell?
Yeah, that's a good point. Like,
dude, they're not thinking on that.
They're not thinking that much.
There's
they're not.
There's way too much rationality in that.
Yeah. It's a bit too much thinking for them on that one. Brian, what do you think? Who's ding dong of the week?
Oh, for sure the vax guy, because because there's no pleasure in getting vaccinated that many times.
Totally.
If that's your thing, putting tank shells up your butthole, like, hey, I mean, to each their own. Like, maybe you pushed it a little bit too far, but like,
I mean, technically the taxpayers are paying to get it taken out.
Yeah, like, and honestly, the only thing I would say about the tank shell guy or the munitions guy is just
tell the truth.
It's okay.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah,
you're shoving weapons up your ass.
Yeah,
clearly,
own it. Like, don't be ashamed of what you're into.
Slipped and fell.
Come on. But yeah, ding dong of the week, definitely the vax guy.
All right.
Definitely.
Well, if you want to submit ding dong of the week for the new year, keep your eyes on the news. I'm sure there's lots of ding dongs who fall into that anti-vax territory that we can keep covering.
Was he just doing it for the money?
Yeah.
Was it just a money thing?
Yeah.
He was just like, oh, they're going to pay me to take vaccines.
Yep.
Yeah.
So he wasn't like.
Can you imagine if he was like, I'm the anti-vaxxer martyr?
Yeah, that's
like,
what I was thinking.
Yeah,
Maybe he was like for all my brethren out there.
No, he saw a gap. He saw a gap in the market and was like,
So he's an entrepreneur.
Some money, yeah. Listen, I got one last letter here before we wrap, and this is actually a letter from Yanya Lalick, who we had on the show, all about cults.
Dude, I'm watching The Vow right now, and I'm going, wow, I I feel so informed by that conversation because Kyla's going, how the fuck are they doing that? And I go, yeah, have you listened to the episode with Yanya yet? And she goes, no. And I go,
love bombing.
Well, she will tell you why these people are up to this.
So Yanya and her partners are up to a new project that she wanted to let our listeners know about because they feel like this could be valuable for some people out there, and hopefully putting this out there might help. It's called Take Back Your Life Recovery, which is all about recovering from cults, coercion, and abusive relationships. The email says, I hope this finds you well. In the time since we last spoke for Sick Boy, my colleagues Beth, Sally, and I have begun an endeavor that may be of interest to you and your audience. Take Back Your Life Recovery is a website and a series of courses which provide support and help for survivors of cultic groups and narcissistic systems, as well as information for therapists and family members. Each course is a series of weekly 2-hour Zoom conversations led and moderated by us, covering topics like post-cult adjustment, understanding coercive control, recognizing healing from trauma, issues of fear and trust, and much more. The website has all the pertinent information about course descriptions, dates, and how to register. As survivors of cultic systems and trained professionals, Beth, Sally, and I personally understand the importance of safe and effective interventions for healing. We are excited to share these resources with the survivor community and professional community to provide access to the knowledge and skills that will help survivors navigate their recovery and lead a trauma-free life. And the website for folks that are interested is www.tbylr.com. That's tbylr.com, which stands for Take Back Your Life Recovery. So if you think that would be of help to you or somebody that you know, especially in these weird times where we're seeing a lot of people being sucked up by these coercive, narcissistic groups, then tbylr.com.
I wrote Yanya and said that website actually sucks, that address, and I recommended wehatecults.com. And so
wehatecults.me, and it is available. The domain is only 39 cents.
They might do a redirect from that, so try it.
Folks, have a happy holiday. 2021
see you next year
has been it's been a wild year. A lot has happened for us this year. Coming into this studio has been a big one for us, and none of this would be possible if it wasn't for folks like you. Thank you so much. And if you want to continue to support the podcast in the coming years, we would really appreciate it. You can do that by going to Apple Podcasts, leaving a rating or review. Not too hard. You can hit follow on Spotify, or of course you can check us out on YouTube every Friday for these Feel Good Friday episodes, and you can watch us fuck around and leave comments below, and make sure you subscribe over there. Even bigger thank you to our patrons. We cannot wait to see you tomorrow night as of recording this for our last Patreon live stream of the year. We've got an amazing guest lined up, and we do these Patreon live shows once a month, and they've been really, 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 really fucking fun. And then to our patrons who are joining us on these monthly hangouts, we can't wait for the next one, which is coming at you in 2022.
And we heard a couple great letters today, and those were sent via letters@sickboypodcast.com. So if you want to reach out, let us know about something going on with you, tell us a nice story, tell us a horrible, crazy story that you just want to share with us, or maybe we'll read it on the show. You can do that, letters@sickboypodcast.com. And if you want to be a guest on the show, sickboypodcast.com/contact, fill out the guest form, come on the show.
And a huge thank you to the folks that make this show happen. Thanks to Jeff Lonis. Guys, I love doing this with you. Richard Coyne, thanks for the theme music. Take Part for the music on Mondays. And Donovan, the Meerkat, CPAT Morgan, for the sound design he also does on the Monday shows. We love you all, and Merry Christmas.
That is it for this year.
I'm Brian.
I'm Taylor.
And I'm Jeremy, and this is Sick Boy.